2023 U.S. draft is needed, and we need to talk about the military recruiting crisis right now. We've got some serious inquiries coming out here. The term military draft has literally been just causing quite a stir among many young people in recent times. And it's rather ironic that, a lot of these people who overwhelmingly voted for President Joe Biden, they're now like really concerned about the thought of possibly being drafted into a war under Biden's administration. And of course, in the digital age, social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, X, the sentiment is really kind of like, they're not down for this, so to speak, right? But what's really driving this fear? And the question is this indicative of the future of President Biden's administration? Like, do people feel like under the Biden administration, they may reinstate the U.S. military draft and the selective service? Will that be reinstated? Now, the U.S. military is facing a growing recruitment shortfall. In fact, a shortfall that is so large that legislators are literally getting concerned. And of course, we have the current conflict going on, possibly involving the U.S. directly with countries like Iran. We have to seriously look at the potential and the ability for the United States to defend itself. And so the Army, they have to recognize that there's really been an evolution in how young people are looking at this. And so if you're going to target that young population for service, you got to make it way more appealing to them, right? And of course, the pool of potential recruits has been dropping for years. In fact, it's been discussed numerous times. But obviously, as of recent, the concern of a military draft being reinstated or the selective service being reinstated here in the United States in 2023 is a little concerning. And so it makes sense why so many people are now searching that. I mean, just looking at this Hill article that I'm looking at right now, bring back the draft, a divisive home front battle will loom over any major war. Is the United States on the cusp of a three-front world war against Russia, Iran, and China? So this is certainly picking up. Now, this article literally came out just hours ago. Another article. No, the U.S. military isn't laying the No, the U.S. military isn't laying the groundwork for a draft. The U.S. military is planning to reinstitute the draft, is what the claim is, but Associated Press is indicating that this is false and that the United States military is not planning to reinstate the draft. Defense officials confirmed the armed forces have made no such recommendation to Congress or the president, which are the entities empowered to authorize a draft. The facts are, with America's allies in Europe and the Middle East embroiled in conflicts with no end in sight, many social media posts are claiming that the U.S. military is considering mandating that regular citizens enlist in the armed forces. So these were some of the concerns that were coming out, but clearly this is not the case. President Biden was basically deep faked. There's an article on Reuters that I'm looking at here, fact checked. Video of Joe Biden calling for a military draft was actually created by AI. U.S. President Joe Biden did not call for military conscription in the United States to respond to the Israel-Hamas conflict in October of 2023, as suggested by an AI-generated video shared on social media. Now, really quickly, guys, if you guys can hear me, just if the video and sound is good, drop a quick comment. Just say, hey, Ron, you're good. Katalia, I see you in the comments. I appreciate you. Katalia never misses a video. I think I say that every video. Shawnsta, I see you. They can draft the migrants. Wow. Thank you, Shawnsta, for your comment. Tony Perez, I see you. Blessings. Joel, James Moore, B-Man says I'm good. A Savory says I'm good. David Lanner says I'm good. I appreciate you guys for letting me know. Also, we got a few hundred people in here. If I can get just at least half of you guys to drop me a quick like, show your boy a little bit of love in here. Appreciate that. So Google Trends is painting a really intriguing picture of some of these concerns. Now, over the past few weeks, there's been a significant surge in Google searches related to the military draft and the military draft age. By the way, I'm going to leave links to the articles that I'm reading in the description of this video down below. So if you guys want to follow up on some of the information that I'm sharing with you, you can check it out and validate that, this is legitimate information. So again, Google searches related to the military draft and the military draft age is prompting us to dive a little deeper into what's actually causing this apprehension, right? And even beyond that, just kind of examining the demographics of these searches kind of reveals that it's mainly Gen Z. And for those who don't know who Gen Z is, because it's kind of hard to keep up with all these different gens, right? Gen Z are basically people who were born after 1997, and those people are feeling the heat, right? So this generation definitely played a pivotal role in securing President Biden's victory with a staggering 65% of those between the ages of 18 years old and 24 years old who voted for him. Nothing wrong with that. And I'm not, trying to sway anyone's vote one way or the other, but I'm just saying that was a large segment of the voter base for President Joe Biden today. And I know a lot of people aren't happy and that, some people are saying that he was placed into the position, and I'm not trying to get into that in today's video. But now they're taking it to social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, getting up in everybody's DMs and basically, expressing their fears and their doubts, with some people even claiming that they would rather go to prison instead of being drafted. In fact, I read some comment basically talking about parents who would never send their children into a war to fight someone else's battle. So lots of controversy on that one, different opinions. So yeah, that's kind of where we are on that one. And the Army, if you think about the Army and the military services this year, they're facing what they are describing as being one of the most challenging recruiting environments that they've seen since the all volunteer force era began in 1973. So that's a long time. So big deal here. By the way, if you guys are enjoying the content, please drop a quick like for the video. Also consider subscribing to the channel. I totally appreciate you. And speaking of appreciation, Annette Dragic, I really appreciate the super chat. I cannot thank you enough. The the appreciation just came in right on time. So I totally appreciate that. And I'm glad you're enjoying the show. Now, here's another thing, when unemployment is unusually low, like now, the military struggles to get recruits. And with unemployment hovering around 3.5%, it can be very tough to convince young people to sign up for any kind of military enlistment, secret service, selective service, signups and things like that. So this year, U.S. military and specifically the U.S. Army has reached 50% of its recruiting goal. So that means that there are half as many people as they needed to sign up this year. And the problem is this has been going on for years. Now, the U.S. military, they need a lot of people. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't come home. Now, the U.S. military alone, they get tens of thousands of signups every year in order to replace those who leave the service for various reasons. So, of course, the Army had a goal of signing up roughly 60,000 people this year, but according to the Secretary of the Army, they could end up, close to 15,000 people short of that goal. Holy cow, Annette. Thank you so much. Thank you, Annette Dragic. I really appreciate the second super chat. You guys are nothing short of amazing. I love you guys. I appreciate you. But there's been a spike in apprehension. Okay, there's been a spike in apprehension surrounding the military draft, and of course the diverse attitudes among these youngsters, Gen Zers. And of course, the implications of these sentiments. So, I don't have to tell you guys, but we could look a little closer at the whole search data that pretty much ignited this discussion, because it's all over Google Trends right now. But I also want to kind of dissect some of the social media reactions and also discuss some of the consequences of failing to register for the draft. So, anyway, definitely, we'll also consider, why so many of these concerns weren't prevalent during the 2020 elections, which we'll get into that later in this video. But despite the now apparent disconnect between campaign promises and actual policies, a lot's going on here. So, anyway, so this sudden spike in Google trends, right? So the sudden spike in Google searches for military age draft or military draft age, and some people are just searching military draft, has literally set off some alarm bells. Um, but a lot of people are like, well, why is this all of a sudden an issue? I think it's kind of obvious why some of the reasons are for the spike in the military draft search, but there are some unexpected reasons as well. So, just a little bit of context. There was the January 2020 tensions with Iran. And I don't know if it's Iran or Iran. Some people get on me about how I pronounce it. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm just doing my best. Anyway, so January 2020, tensions between the United States and Iran escalated, following the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, who was a high-ranking Iranian military leader. So Soleimani's effort to basically unite various factions within the Islamic world posed a significant threat to the U.S. So the United States' decision to eliminate him raised a lot of concerns about the possibility of war with Iran, prompting Americans to wonder if they might be drafted. Makes a lot of sense. A lot of people were kind of thinking, okay, well, the spike took place in January 2020. Maybe people felt like, okay, there might be a war between the United States and China because of the whole pandemic situation coming about at the time. And many people thinking that, okay, well, maybe the United States would want to go after China for this virus that was released. Anyway, it looks like it was actually more along the lines of the whole U.S.-Iran situation versus U.S.-China situation. So, of course, the fear of being drafted has been ultimately driving a lot of young people to just kind of express their concerns on social media platforms. And some are basically experiencing some concerns about who they voted for after supporting Joe Biden in the 2020 elections. It's like, oh, I didn't know he was going to support that. Can I take my vote back? So that's what some people are saying. But, now they're finding themselves kind of criticizing the very same administration that they helped put in office. So as they say, be careful what you wish for. And in this case, I guess, be careful who you vote for. So the change in sentiment is happening. Damien says, hope not, though. Yeah. So disagree with sending troops to Israel. We need them here in America first. We have millions of illegal immigrants flooding across the Biden open border policy. I agree. We need help in Israel, but okay, your message is kind of cut off. But anyway, that was a message from Donna Rawls. Appreciate your feedback. Thank you for sharing that. Land of smokeless fire, the 5 tons. And a lot of people are saying that there's, false flag coming here. We have yet to actually confirm, but I'm definitely going to keep my eye out. Bio 1656 says, Ron, just say Persia. Okay. Let's see. Vitameat Vegamin, Vegamin draft Ron Jeremy. Wow. That guy's getting up in age. I don't know if he would be the best guy to go to war for us. Anyway, so this whole change in sentiment is particularly striking given the stark difference between Biden's campaign promises and his actions regarding military involvement. But I guess that's another story for another day. But of course, there's the legal consequences of failing to register. So basically, failing to register for the draft or to comply with military service directives carries severe legal consequences. So basically, if you don't register for the draft, it could really hit you in the pockets. Violators can face fines of up to $250,000, imprisonment up to 5 years, or a combination of both penalties. Just a quick question for you guys in the comment section down below. Just drop me a quick comment, right? So theoretically, let's just say you had to be drafted or you had to go to war. Would you choose going to war or go to prison, right? Like imagine like going to war for 5 years or being in prison for 5 years. And if you're a parent like me, I'm a parent, would you rather would you rather know your kid went to prison for 5 years, or would you rather your kid go to the military for 5 years? I know it's a tough question, but I'm just curious because those are literally the choices that you could be potentially facing. Because it says here that the violators could face fines up to $250,000, imprisonment for up to 5 years, or even a combination of the two penalties. So it's kind of like if you were in that situation where you had to choose between, hey, go to jail, go through this door and go to jail, or go through this door over here and go to war, what would you choose? Anyway, so despite these penalties, a lot of individuals claim that they would rather endure imprisonment than be sent to a war zone. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So James Moore says, I'd rather be in prison. Wow. Joel says, send the prisoners to war. Huh, that's an interesting suggestion. Gunpreet Senbi says, draft. Oh, wait, draft Ron Yates. No, don't draft Ron Yates. What you doing, man? Jesus or Jesus Save says 250K is a lot. Yes, it is a lot. Annette Dragus says, send all the LGBTQ. So moving on. So aversion to the draft. Some people are openly stating that they would prefer serving time in prison over being drafted in the military. I'm not really sure which is worse, but I can't imagine either of them being particularly comfortable. One of which some people would actually like to serve in the military. So that's, great if that's what you want to do. But I think it's a completely, like, if that's your calling to serve in the military, I think that's phenomenal, right? But, if it's not your calling and you're kind of forced to do it, then I think that perspective shift changes everything. Now, of course, the reason is that, prison provides free housing, it's got food, clothing. Meanwhile, war presents, immediate dangers to life and well-being. But then again, I don't know. I've watched a lot of, prison shows and, I forget, what was that one prison series? Oh God, it escapes me right now. It was like on HBO, but there was some wild stuff going on in there too. So I don't know. So anyway, somebody help me out in the comments. Let me know what was that HBO series that was like, it was like a prison series. So basically, the sentiment is raising a lot of questions about the perceived concerns, the horrors of war, and the value placed on individuals. Oz, thank you guys, thank you. Apparently, y'all know this show. Yeah, Oz was an eye opener. If you didn't, know what happens on the other side of the barbed wire fence. So, but yeah, so of course, the potential skills, the survival abilities, all this is going to play into survival on both fronts. Really, individuals are expressing a lot of reluctance toward this draft, and they're often seen as like resourceful and elusive. Now, their willingness to live off the grid and evade authorities for 5 years suggests that they can possess certain survival skills, right? Then of course you got TikTokers. Some of y'all use TikTok, some of y'all hate TikTok. I get it, but TikTok ultimately is a pretty popular platform among a lot of Gen Z. And I will say I've actually learned quite a bit off of TikTok, little different life hacks. But anyway, so TikTok, real popular among Gen Z folks. Definitely serves as an outlet for individuals to express their feelings and their thoughts. A lot of humorous stuff, a lot of, anyway. So people are getting on there talking about, the military draft and, what they would rather do instead, or, yeah. But then again, some people are just kind of like clowning it, TikTok, users create videos that humorously address the whole military draft issues. And a lot of these videos actually poke fun at the notion of being drafted, suggesting that the idea is far-fetched. But I'm just saying, as a realist, I don't think it's that far-fetched. Now, granted, maybe it hasn't been instated since 1973, but 1973 wasn't that long ago. I don't have a calculator out right now, but what's that, like 50 years? That's not that long ago. And nowadays, I wouldn't put anything past anyone, if you know what I'm saying. So anyway, but really the videos on TikTok normally kind of highlight the generational gap between, the young people, Gen Z, and of course the historical context of the military drafts. But a lot of these creators are, making some cheeky attitudes toward the possibility of being drafted. And, they question the practicality of forcing a generation with diverse interests and lifestyles into military services. And then of course is the question of, okay, if you were to draft a whole lot of people who don't want to be in there, is that the best thing that we should be doing to protect, defend the United States of America? You guys let me know what you think on that one, because I think that one's I when you have people who want to be there versus people who don't want to be there and are being forced against their will, and then you provide them with guns and weapons, I just don't know how that works out. So, but anyway, so the whole current apprehension among these young folks really just kind of prompts us to collect to think back on the 2020 elections, right? And of course, the absence of substantive critique regarding military policies. Now, of course, failure. There's a failure to address President Biden's war policies, which kind of weren't covered as much as probably should have. Somebody said draft Alex Jones. Wow. Price Jones says it may backfire. Yeah. So Nathan Coates says, I'm glad I did my active duty time, OIF 2007 through 2008. Gunpreet Sembri says, why prisoners? Yeah. So a lot of I love the discussion you guys are having in the comments. I need to jump in here more with you guys because y'all are saying some really interesting stuff. So, now the Republican Party, while campaigning against Joe Biden, largely refrained from critiquing his foreign policy record. And Bio 1656, number one, I just want to thank you for the super chat. Says if they I think you mean if they instill the draft, it would be a lot less crime in major cities. Interesting. Bio 1656. I'm just curious, why do you think that if they reinstated the draft, there would be less crime in major cities? I just love to hear your thoughts on that one. But I appreciate your insight. I appreciate your input. So anyway, the campaigns, they focused on cultural and identity issues, but they sidelined a lot of the important discussions about the military involvement. Now again, the Republican Party, while they were campaigning against Joe Biden, they largely refrained from critiquing his foreign policy record. Now, of course, lack of attention to President Biden's record leaves some people wondering if the 2020 elections accurately represented the voters' concerns. But of course, you imagine a hypothetical scenario where you got a candidate that openly labels President Biden as a war criminal during a debate, right? Now, of course, that kind of an accusation of a war crime could potentially have reshaped the election discourse and history, or the life we live today could literally have been completely altered had that happened, and provided a completely different perspective on foreign policy, right? Now, of course, the absence of these types of confrontations during the campaigns, they suggest a broader reluctance to address these critical issues. Wow, we got over 500 people in here. Can y'all just drop some likes in here if you guys are enjoying the content? That definitely helps more people to be able to discover this live and kind of help spread this conversation, this discussion, and of course, informational awareness, because the more we know, the more we are equipped to handle whatever's coming our way. And by the way, I do have a new channel that I want to share with you guys. If you guys want to check it out, I'm gonna drop that in the chat right now. I have gotten a lot of positive feedback from you guys. So I literally just dropped the new YouTube channel in the chat in case you guys want to check it out. I'm gonna see if I can pin this to the top so you guys can quickly and easily find it. So anyway, thank you guys for dropping a quick like. It only takes a second. Also consider subscribing to the channel. I totally appreciate you guys. So, but getting back, one Gen Z individual kind of made headlines by disrupting a Hillary Clinton speech to voice their concerns about President Biden's foreign policy decisions. So yeah, people were very vocal, to say the least, right? So this person took a bold step by basically interrupting Hillary Clinton's speech to voice their concerns about President Biden's warmongering speech. This person's actions demonstrated a commitment, I don't think that there's any better word to describe that. Basically, a commitment to raising awareness about the direction of the U.S. foreign policy, which wasn't being discussed as much during the campaigning and during the election time back in 2020-ish. Not to mention acknowledgement of the right to express concerns during public events, definitely an essential element of this disruption. But yeah, the fear of the military draft is palpable among, people who supported Joe Biden's presidency. And it's a little ironic that those who played such a pivotal role in President Joe Biden's election now expressing a lot of apprehension, a lot of almost like buyer's remorse, about being potentially drafted into a war under his administration. Google Trends data is reflecting this huge surge in concerns, primarily among Gen Z, and so this is a big deal. This is a big deal. I'm definitely gonna keep my eye on this one. I hope that this is what I'll say. I hope that we have the military backing that we need to protect ourselves, so that we are good and safe as a nation. But only time will tell what will happen going into the future. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed today's conversation, definitely drop a like, consider subscribing to the channel, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. I really appreciate you guys for hanging out with me today. Again, the new channel is up. I left a link for you guys if you want to check it out in the comments. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. You guys be safe and God bless.